button's acting a lot better today.
That's good.
Yeah, it's been nice.
And so if this is Faranema carpenteri, that would be good news because that's on our connectivity list for the Aspire program.
You have to have it out to.
Oh, really?
Or into Stowe, so.
That'd be great.
Just leave it. Do you think there's a significant root structure we're going for, or are you just trying not to squish the thing?
Shirley, would you know whether there might be a particular deep root structure to these, or would they be kind of on the surface?
Boy, I really don't know, but I'd say go ahead and scoop underneath it.
Scoop as deep as we can. And
yeah, I'm sorry, I just don't know.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry about that, guys. My footing was not good enough. As I tried to dig in the sand, it actually just pushed the vehicle around. So I'm just going to have to back up a little bit and push a little bit harder. Actually, I'll put the arm a little bit higher for this, just in case.
Seems like there's a bit of consensus that this is Faranema.
This rubble substrate is proving to be a little difficult to scoop into.
Yeah. And Chuck Messing gave us an ID on that crinoid that we saw swimming. Pentametrocrinus, whoops, just moved. Pentametrocrinus atlanticus. And yeah, that was the one that was swimming, Chuck. Does that make sense? It's swimming, or at least in the water column.
Can you watch the PDU, make sure we're not anywhere near our amperage rating? I'm pushing down kind of hard at this point. 20 amps, good.
Another cutthroat eel, several of them.
60.
Oh,
checking
60?
us out.
How did we get close to 60 there one time?
I don't know. Pushing down a lot harder than this.
And Chris Kelly is pointing out that if we did a quick bleach prep on the sponge once it comes up and looked underneath the microscope, we should be able to confirm that it's at least the family. Keeps jumping. Because there's distinctive spicules called amphidiscs.
Try digging in a little deeper here.
And if we do find those, it'd be interesting to see if we find them in the sediments as well.
Starting to touch the box.
They're not very common so far, so it's not as likely.
Huh. Joanna Xavier points out that if this does prove to be P. carpenteri, it would be the very first record in the Northwest Atlantic of the species. So that's definitely worth a collection. That would be very exciting. Thanks for putting that out, Joanna.
Is there a specific box you want?
Looks like we're getting it.
Don't slide off. I don't think I'm going to be able to maneuver this other than to the port side.
You're not going to starboard outer?
Negatory.
Good one, Fernando. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, open box. Great.
Looks like it's resting on the... Yeah.
Okay, he's in. As well as some dirt.
Very nice collection, Pilot.
All right.
Okay, you can close it up.
So when we get this back on the ship, if we want to use bleach and see if it's in the ferronematid family, the amphidix discs that we would see look like two umbrellas with their handles cut off and glued together in opposite directions. So you have a little umbrella at each end of the rod. Neat.
Someone please send a picture for comparison.
It sounds like we could figure that out.
And you've made this
Actually,
geologist very happy.
I've seen spicules, or at least pictures of spicules like that. So okay.
That sounds quite interesting. And we have a lovely microscope on board that has a camera attached, so we could take pictures of those.
Package secure.
Arm is secure.
Co-pilot, did you move the rotator halfway through the sampling?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I had lost visual.
All right.
All right.
Biosample 1.
Off we
Dive
go.
6. Great job with that sediment collection, Pilot. I mean the biological sample.
And that's a very exciting sample, because if it does prove to be Pheronema carpenteri, it might be a new record for the northwestern Atlantic Ocean. So we will be keen to examine that when it gets on board and send it to the Smithsonian, where other people can then request to look at it, other people that have more sponge knowledge than I do, for sure. Oh, but it could be Pheronema annae, which has been reported from the Northwest Atlantic. But that's not a very well-known species either. So either way, it's an interesting find and a good collection.
What is this? See this
What
orangey
is that?
discoloring? Yeah, come in a little more video.
Might be more debris, piece of metal.
Yeah, rusting metal.
Oh yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, definitely breaking down.
And a crinoid behind it.
Yep, this is very oxygenated water. We're under the Gulf Stream. So any iron begins to oxidize, which is in part why you
Great.
see
I think we can
the
continue
brown
on.
on the landscape, because there's plenty of iron, dissolved iron in the water, and that is precipitating out of solution onto these stalks of the dead coral, the rubble.
We're now at a depth of 775 meters, and we're continuing upslope. And this might be the first little piece of scleractinian coral that's alive here. The white coral towards the center of the screen. Pilot, can we take a quick look at the coral on the top left of the screen?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The white stock there.
Yeah.
Sure thing. Okay, video, you can start in.
And this is definitely an Alipsamia profunda, but I do not see any live tissue. You can see the calyces where the polyps would sit that appear empty. So this is probably a recently dead branch or two of coral, because it's not, well, actually it does have some organisms growing on it. We have a little octocoral here that looks like it's barely hanging on in this swift current.
Okay, well, we got some time with that. Probably good.
Thanks, pilot.
Yep.
We've just sent Cheryl to the lunchroom so she can nourish herself. It's easy to forget about eating when we're doing this. We'll see if Stephanie can step in and contribute on the biological side. I'll do my best if she's not here.
Navigator.
She might be at lunch as well. So I encourage those of you on the chat room to pipe in when you can. Please actually call in. We want to literally hear from more of you.
Co-pilot.
We're slowly climbing up this mound. We will reach the crest of sort of the lower portion of the giant complex mound that we're climbing.
Ready for a move?
So should flatten out fairly soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll rise again after
Looks good.
traversing across the
So
crest
30 meter
of
move
the lower
at
portion.
300.
I think so, yeah.
All right, I'll call it in.
That's good to me.
We're not seeing quite the abundance here as we saw at the beginning of the dive.
Bridge, nav.
And Stephanie
Coming
has
down to give you a
come to
little slack.
rescue me.
As much as I can, yes.
Bridge, nav.
Bridge over.
Bridge, I'd like to request a ship move. Range 30 meters.
So there's some chat on the
Bearing
chat room
330
regarding
speed decimal 2 knots.
the stony
we'll
coral
move
that we looked at
30 meters
earlier.
at a bearing of 330 and a
believe.
speed of decimal 2.
What was that? Sorry.
300. Sorry, Bridge.
Okay, let me clarify. Range 30
So maybe
meters,
one of you
bearing
can clarify what
300,
the
speed
consensus
decimal 2.
is
Good
so
copy,
that we
Bridge.
can
Thank you.
communicate that to our viewers. For those of you viewing, we have over 30 scientists from around the globe, literally,
Dryland.
who are assisting us on our chat room. It's wonderful to see how they communicate with each other and discuss the different features they're seeing of these objects, the different organisms that we zoom in on.
ROV, now this is
Try to
Bridge.
come
Did you
to a
call us over?
consensus of at least what genus is represented.
Video, you can come in
Okay,
on this.
thanks.
And several times,
Bridge. No,
everybody
that
is
wasn't
stumped.
here.
So
Okay, move
we have
initiated.
a lot
over.
to learn.
Thank you, Bridge.
It's the whole nature of exploration. We're looking at a sponge here.
Just to the left of that sponge looks like that lacy soft coral that we collected yesterday, Duva, Florida.
The pinkish,
The-
yes.
the pinkish
the
one.
meaty pinkish one.
And then there's
in the
a
foreground.
stony coral there, and then also some I'm actually not sure the white ones. I missed out on yesterday's dive and
Yeah.
identifying some of those ones. We collected a Unicella and a Swiftia yesterday. Could be one of those, but I could be wrong.
I'm not sure which, if Swiftia is the one in the lower right, just off to the left, actually, now there's one. I'm not sure if Swiftia is the stony coral or not. Swiftia is an octocoral.
Yeah, octocoral.
Yeah,
So the widest white one that we don't even see any polyps on it. I'm not sure if it's alive anymore. That's the stony coral. The ones where you can see the polyps
Right.
would be the octocorals.
Okay. And what is it called? Analopsamia?
No.
Is that stone?
I'm not sure what they're referring to when they're
Okay.
talking about
I think we're good with this
analopsamia. I mean,
Come wide video.
with regard to our current view, that they might be still experiencing a delay and talking about one
True,
on
true.
our when we were.
It makes it even more
zoomed out.
difficult. We see so much diversity when we zoom in, and the folks in the chat room have at least 7, maybe 10 seconds of delay. So we really have to stay still for a long period of time to really know which organism they're referring to. And we've also had a shift change with our front row.
Maybe we should have them introduce themselves when they get.
When they get oriented.
Oh, we've only had a partial shift change. Maybe we
Yeah.
should wait till.
It's lunchtime, so everybody's in the process. Well, if you're just tuning in, we are on our 6th dive of a series of 15 dives that we'll be doing over the next few weeks. And this is known as the Windows to the Deep 2018 expedition. We're on board the Okeanos Explorer, the NOAA vessel that is dedicated to exploration of the deep sea. And our eyes to the seafloor are a remotely operated vehicle, or an ROV, and its name is the Deep Discoverer. And currently we are about 170 kilometers off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida, in the southeast U.S. continental margin region.
All right. Andy, Lars.
Hi, pilot. Can we take a
Pilot.
quick zoom
Pilot,
to the
just watch
yellow,
one. Oh.
the yellow sea star?
Yellow Sea Star. Yeah. Go ahead, watch one.
Sorry, I was going to say the same thing. I didn't realize she was
That's fine.
on your audio.
Yep, that's fine.
And this is the second sea star of this variety that we have seen.
Okay, so Nolan sent us a PDF about these Pheronema glass sponges, Pheronema carpenteri, that has nice images of the spicules that we'll potentially see once we get that sponge we collected maybe 10 minutes ago back to the surface, treat part of it with bleach so we can image the spicules. So thank you for that, Nolan.
And based on the photos that I know the viewing audience can't see, this is a sponge I don't want to pick up. These spicules definitely are designed to be uncomfortable
Okay, we can go ahead and go in video.
to whomever touches it.
Yeah, I think I'll wear
Hold there.
2 pairs of gloves if I need to pick
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah, this species looks very similar. I believe it is the same species as the one we saw earlier. We didn't get a full identification on it, but it is part of the Goniasterid group of sea stars.
Go in tighter if you got it.
We've seen these off the coast of South Carolina at the
Are we now
Charleston
bridge?
Bump
Move
area,
complete.
and they are beautiful pinks and even purples.
Thank you, Bridge.
With some ornamentation on their surface, in addition to what you see here.
Okay.
That's great. Thanks, pilot.
I'll go ahead and come out video. So Lars, you're pretty low.
I was
So,
gonna say,
so you gotta maybe come up to like 10 or 12 meters right now.
do we want that high of a delta?
Yeah, 10 meters is fine.
Gonna drop my camera down and keep you in the
Yep.
view.
Yeah, your camera's up at a pretty high angle, so say like keep it 35 is fine.
Yeah, 35 right there at a delta of 11.
That's perfect. And the ship just
Hello,
stopped.
this
Is that
is
what I heard
Chris
from the bridge?
That's right.
Hello,
pilot.
Chris. We're glad to
Should we
have
shoot
you.
another
Did you
move?
get an ID on that little fella?
Yeah, you're talking about the yellow one.
The
right?
yellow one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen
Yeah.
2 of those.
Maybe,
and
20
that's
meters?
The only,
Today, you mean, or
today, yes.
So as I move up slope,
okay.
you'll need to come up.
Yeah,
in
I'm pretty
altitude
sure
as well.
that's the same one we saw
So
yesterday.
it's 300
I think that's
still
just
look like
Plinth
the
Aster dentatus.
right
Is
there.
that the bearing to
Again, one of the
waypoint 3?
classic
That was our last
representatives
move.
of the
Waypoint 2, rather.
Atlantic fauna from this area.
Yeah,
This
Levi
is a
mentioned
Goni
that
asteroid,
Sirius is probably
and
right to where we
I
wanna
believe,
go, which
Okay.
if I was
296
following
to
Twitter
297.
closely
So I
enough,
assume
you
Yeah,
guys saw
300.
some other things
Looks
today
good.
as well.
Yep.
A
Let's do
multi-armed
that.
sea
20
star
meters,
and
300.
and another Goni asteroid.
The other Goni asteroid was the same as the one we've just seen, but yes, we did
And,
see a, what was it,
I know
8-armed
the
sea
goal
star
of the whole dive
right
was to
toward
make
the
it to
beginning
top.
of the,
Bridge,
But
near the beginning
This
of
is
the
bridge over.
dive.
Yep. We'll
Like to
keep
request a ship
okay.
move.
steady moves.
So
Range
that one
20
is what's
meters.
known as a solasterid,
Bearing
sun star,
300
and those
degrees.
are predatory
Speed decimal
on a
2
number of
knots.
things, including
Okay,
sea cucumbers and other sea stars.
20 meters,
Um,
bearing 300,
there's
speed decimal 2.
A couple of them in this area, but I don't think anybody's ever actually watched them feed on anything.
10 is fine.
Keep your eyes out. You never know what kind of
Because your
interesting
camera angle's up pretty
things
high.
will turn up.
So between 30 and 40 degrees, like
Speed
10
is a
meter delta
fascinating
is
endeavor,
totally
let me
fine.
tell you.
And then
Yes.
as you would move your
and I
tilt your
believe you
camera
actually
down,
saw
you need to come
another
up in altitude.
type of Goni asteroid
like
as
if
well.
you were,
And Goni asteroids
you know,
are very
if I was
diverse.
90
They're actually
degrees
the most
on your camera
specious
right
group
under
of
you,
sea
you'd
stars.
want to be up
Army
like
average
18 to 20 meters
260
typically.
species.
Thank you, Bridge.
Just to be
Probably
safe.
the most number of
So you
species
move
within the
around that,
asteroidea for a single family. Some 65 genera. I've
distance,
contributed
you gotta
to
do a
that
little
number
trig in your head.
myself
Copy that.
over the last couple of years. So I know for a fact that
My favorite thing to
that
do.
number is
Good.
growing, and so there's
Ever
quite a
growing.
lot of them. Oh yeah, and and they're
So that move
also
has
known
been
from the
initiated,
Cretaceous,
pilots.
and so
Copy.
when I see a sea star like this
Just
one,
gonna sit
I
down for a
often
second.
look at
Adjust
the
my
floor
audio.
and almost I can envision, kind of a Mesozoic seascape because
Sure.
because these are very, I mean there are distinctions if you know what you're looking at, but they're definitely, very old looking, if you will. It's a mistake to call them living
Check,
fossils,
check.
of course, because all
Mic
things
check.
are living fossils. But
Check.
but they definitely have kind of a
Mic check.
celestial look to them, and when
Right.
you would consider that Texas at one point was underwater, sort of a large shallow
Okay,
water
moving
sea,
ahead.
and this area was
Go
part
ahead,
of that
watch one.
sort of general region, the biome and whatnot.
Sure.
It's not hard to see that there are some of these Goni asteroids that
So the
sort
ship
of
is
went
moving.
from
So as you
being
approach
shallow
me, you need to keep an eye on
very
your
deep.
delta and
so,
come up if you
or at least in this case, reasonably
start
deep.
to get close
So,
to me.
I'm looking forward to
Go ahead and
seeing
zoom in
more.
video.
You definitely have
I'll also
already
bring my
captured
camera down
a
as
fair
well.
amount of interesting
Copy.
diversity. I'm still trying
Yeah,
to
and
figure
then
out
go ahead
what
video.
you saw earlier
Whenever
this
you
morning,
tilt your camera down,
thanks
just
to,
let me know.
both Twitter and Facebook people
You
capturing
can,
images.
just say, okay, I'm tilting down
and
to
I'm looking
45
forward
or
to seeing
whatever.
additional
That'll help me a
pictures
lot.
of
Thanks.
what you guys get.
Great. Well, thanks as always for your input. We're at a loss often for who these different echinoderms are, particularly the sea stars, and of course they are quite of interest to many people. So thanks so much.
Well, no greater
tighter? You got it?
self-interest in that than me.
Yeah,
So,
well, we all have our
I'm
favorites.
definitely looking forward to what you come across, and I know a lot of these are found as
Down to
predators on
45.
many
Copy.
of the target animal species. So,
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to every opportunity you get.
So
because,
right now,
they're
we've got
often
quite a bit of current
when they're feeding, they're
Going
often
from
doing
south
so
to
in a
north,
way that hasn't been observed
which
before.
means if
So,
we lost ship
or
propulsion,
at the very least, it confirms
we're
a
gonna drift,
food
what,
or
2.5
prey item that
knots
hasn't
to the
been
north?
seen before.
Yeah, so
Well,
the
thanks
thank you
again,
wind
very
is
much.
Chris.
17
To your
knots,
business with this.
and
Oh,
the
wow.
surface
That's
current
fine.
Very
is
engaging.
2.3 knots.
Okay.
Okay.
And together they're pretty much
Yeah, have a good
gonna
day. I'll
push
talk to you
us
later.
Thanks,
Go watch
Chris.
one.
north-northeast.
And that was Chris Ma from the Smithsonian.
Sure. Yep, go ahead and zoom in video if you got it. Is that full? Okay. Can you zoom in on the amphipod in the back? Or focus on that, rather. Do you need a tighter zoom?
If possible, would be great.
Yeah,
Let me,
bridge move
let me
complete.
pick up here. Let's come out video.
Thank you, Bridge.
Tilting down to 6-0.
Copy. So right here, I would say you'd want to have like a 15-meter altitude.
What appears to be
Making
a
my way
very
up.
tall X-current osculum
So,
formed kind of
pilot,
like a tunic.
continuing that
I don't
discussion,
think I've seen quite that morphology before.
according to the
associated with that
telemetry and
particular
what we have on at least Sirius's sonar.
Yes, God, I thought that it was kind
We're
of
on
unusual
top of
looking
the
as
ridge,
well,
so
although,
we
of course,
should-
I don't know
there isn't
deep sea
anything that we would
sponges, so I
drift
wasn't
into.
sure. So
Okay.
thanks for
But
chiming in and letting us know that is
still,
not
we
particularly
probably
common.
want to start hauling in
morphology.
pretty quickly.
Yep.
Yeah, so
So
I
if that
watched
was
the
to happen-
video
go
and
ahead
I
and
just
zoom in
regained
video.
it. Shirley, I can just see
I
that
would
tube
go
right
ahead and
now.
turn to
Was the
port.
base
Try and get the turnout.
spherical?
No, I would say
Shirley, we're going to go back and zoom in
things
on
would
the base
happen-
for you so you can see it. It's
stand by.
I wouldn't call it spherical. It almost
No
looks like the tube
Go in
is
tighter video. Go
wound
in full.
around, but
You got
you'll be seeing
That is
it.
full.
Oh, I see
Okay.
that. That's very cool.
Yeah, it looks more like
Tilting
a
down
mass,
to
like a series of
7.5.
lobes.
Copy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Pretty dense sponge then with that one little.
So now that you're pretty much over me, go ahead, watch one. You'd want to come up to like
There's
18
some
meters.
demo
On my way.
sponges that have those really
Yeah, that's full
long kind of fistules or tubules that stick out, like things like Topsentia come to mind. And this doesn't
Okay.
look like that.
Yep. Here's your sponge.
Oceanathia is another one, but it really doesn't look
Yeah,
like
maybe zoom
So
out,
Lars,
pilot, for the base of the
let's go ahead and
sponge,
zoom out.
please.
Video.
Do you want to continue this after?
I can't tilt down. I got to back up. I got in close to get the amphipod and too close now.
Coming down to 9-0.
Yep. Hold
Maybe
that.
it is more spherical. Just has a lobe to it.
Okay, you can go in video if you got it. So Lars, we would drift to the north, and we basically want to get into tow configuration as quickly as possible.
Yep.
So how would you get to tow config as quickly as possible from where we're at now?
Are we
Looks
trying
like
to
a
get
nice
rid of the
belly
turns?
worm
No.
coming out of,
Then I would turn to starboard.
or
Okay.
out near the base
Turn to
of
starboard,
the
face
sponge.
north.
In the upper right?
And I
Yeah.
would turn to port, face south, and stretch out so that
Feather
we would just
duster?
weather vane
That what
as the ship
people
drifts to
refer
the
to it
north.
as.
That would,
I'm
and
not
then we'd
sure
come
about
up as
Yeah.
fast
common
as we,
names.
Yeah, who
you know,
knows?
We'd come up 30 meters
Yeah, I
a minute
guess.
on the winch.
I think so.
Gotcha.
Okay, we can come out. Does that make sense, Andy?
This is really cool. This is Shirley. That
And
The tallest
I'm almost
peak
thinking of
is
something called the
720
Oceanathia.
meters to the northwest.
A demo sponge.
I believe
Yes.
I marked it on high pack.
Yep.
A little
Okay.
bit further out.
So we'd want to make sure, what are we at now? 760. Okay, so yeah, we'd come up we'd maybe just come up to like 700 and hold there until we got the word
Copy that.
things were settled out. So, okay, I'm coming up. I'll push forward, Lars. Ship is stopped.
Right.
Probably mostly settled out, but I'll
And
push
we're
ahead.
having to
Get you a little more comfortable here.
Shift a
As
little
you
bit.
push ahead, I will
due to
follow
the
you with the
ship's
camera.
position.
And as I push ahead, I'll also be coming up in altitude. So
Yep.
I think you're fine for now, but keep an eye on that.
Well, yeah, I have a 18 right now, so
That's
as
good.
I follow you up with the camera, it should drop down to be within that 10 to 20 range.
Copy.
Then after you get a little forward, maybe we call in another ship move.
Sure.
I agree with that.
What is our average pace
Looks
need
like
to be today? To
a
get to the top?
midwater fish
Or
flying
leave
by
ourselves
over
like
the
half an hour at the top or
coral
something.
rubble
How fast
habitat
would
there,
you
but
roll up the hill?
difficult to identify.
Stand by, pilot. I'll compute that.
Thanks.
Should we put the move in first? Or do we want to loiter here a little bit longer?
We'll loiter here for a little bit while you do that.
I'll be there at 6-0.
Copy.
I'm seeing quite a few of those Duva Florida lace corals, and then the small white octocorals are all over the place here.
I see quite a bit up there, yeah. Go over there for a bit.
Is that a bottle?
Yep.
Pilot, so if we can maintain an average pace of 0.15 speed over ground, it'll take us just over 67 minutes to get to the peak.
67 minutes?
Copy.
Okay. And then how much time would that leave us on the peak before we have to come off bottom?
Stand by.
You ready? All
Anything
right,
of interest here, watch lead?
Another bit of musical chairs here. So Leslie went off to lunch, and
There's a
Cheryl's
fish.
back from lunch, and I'm still here. I just shifted chairs. So
You want to zoom in
Stephanie
video?
Bush of the Smithsonian
Another rat tail.
National Museum of Natural History. And because it's lunchtime, we should also have the front row introduce themselves when
Do you
they
want
get a
lasers
chance
off?
to do so.
You can keep them on.
Here's a Nazumia rat tail.
Ah, lost my footing. Come out video.
Actually, there was another fish right behind that, to the
Oh, yeah.
northeast of that.
See that too. Bigger one.
I
Okay, go ahead,
assumed
video.
You had
You
done
can
that
zoom
on
in.
purpose.
Oh, yeah. And hold that.
And you have its head down to the bottom left.
No, if
Pretty
that's
cool tail.
that looks a
coloration.
bit different than the Stenophobranchid cutthroat eels that we've been looking at.
Yeah.
But then again, I usually am looking more at the head than the
face.
tail.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's buried in there.
Oh yeah.
Come out, come out.
Oh, I see him. Is that him on the bottom left?
Yes.
Yeah,
his head.
that's his head.
He's hiding in there. Let's see if I can come around. Let's come out video.
Over on the left, you can see a really small basket star within the coral rubble. Zoomed out.
Let's do partial. Go ahead and hold that. He's got a really narrow head.
Yeah, we saw one yesterday
There he
that Nematocheles, I think, was the genus
Go a
that
little
some
tighter.
folks
Oh, there.
that Andrea Quattrini said.
Hold that.
Yeah, I bet you that's. I was trying to find the common name.
It would give us, pilot, 175 minutes on the peak.
Oh, okay. So we have plenty of time then. So if we plan on having like a half an hour at the peak, or 45 minutes on the peak, you know, we just have to maintain an average pace of like probably a little less than 0.1 knots.
Well, they want us to travel 82 meters on the
Oh,
peak.
across the peak.
Yeah.
Go ahead, watch one. Go ahead and zoom out video. Okay. Yep, we'll go. Yeah, so we just had a shift change for the lunch break. Now this is Dan Rogers sitting pilot.
Andy O'Brien, sitting navigator.
Lars Murphy sitting in the co-pilot seat.
Bob not on video, and the clipping chair is vacant right now.
It's
Art
lunchtime.
Art
Art
Howard was
back
there.
there, and we're all with the Global Foundation for Ocean Exploration.
Slope looks like it's getting steeper here.
Copy that. So another 20-meter move or 30-meter move?
Yeah, 30 meters would be fine, I think.
I feel comfortable with 30.
Yep.
And are we still looking at 300?
Yes. Yep.
Copy.
Works for me.
No, this is a whip coral here,
Bridge,
this
Nav.
long, skinny
This
one.
is the bridge over.
I'd like to request a ship move. Range
Pilot, watch
30
one.
Go
meters.
watch one.
Sorry.
Bearing 300
Go ahead, watch
Take a
these.
look at this
degrees.
one.
Sure.
Looks like you already
Speed
headed to do
decimal 2
just
knots.
that.
Sure.
Roger, understand 30 meters, bearing 300, speed decimal 2.
Good copy, Bridge.
Is that Stephanie or Cheryl back there? I have a hard time distinguishing on comms.
Stephanie here, and I
Stephanie.
just switched seats from watch 1 to watch 2.
Okay. Just
Hence
to
my
confuse.
miscommunication with you, so sorry about that.
It's okay. All right, go ahead and zoom in.
But you also have Cheryl, so you
Okay.
have both of us. We're going to continue to confuse you.
ROV nav bridge, move initiated.
This is interesting.
Yeah, this looks like something new for the
Watch
day
leads
and
now.
for yesterday when we were in a similar habitat.
Go ahead and tighter,
Oh,
Bob, if
wow.
you got it.
What it is.
Any ideas, Scott?
Yeah, I'm still trying to
ROV
get a
nav
good
bridge,
look.
just to confirm,
My
move
first guess
initiated.
would have been that it is
Thank
a
you, Bridge.
primnoid whip.
Oh, wow.
The polyps jammed in there close together. There is something called Candidella gigantea, but I believe it's deeper than the range we're in now.
We're at 760 meters.
Down to the base,
I may not
Bob.
be on the right screen today to be able to discern whether this looks like it has polyps with scales or if it's something else like Manella cellid or something.
Yeah, just to confirm, I believe the last co-pilot said
Yeah, I
that
can't
for
tell whether there are
dinner
scales
has
on the
a sample in
polyps.
it. Is that true?
It's giving me that
I have
feeling
port
of
outer, co-pilot.
Primnoidae.
Port
They're
outer,
usually
okay, so port
fairly
inner and
rigid.
both
They have a quite
starboards are
stiff
empty.
skeleton.
Are
And something
free.
about the
Correct.
regularity with which the
Thank you.
polyps are coming off and pointed down all points to being a primnoid.
Go ahead, watch
So
2.
I'm going to say, for the time being anyway, octocoral family
Yeah, sure.
Primnoidae.
Great.
Yeah, is that full
family
zoom,
in the
Bob?
deep
Do you
sea.
need
It's
me to move
extremely
closer?
diverse.
It's come out partial. I'll push ahead a little bit.
And it sounds like Tina Molodtsova also agrees that it's a primnoid.
Excellent. Yeah, and she's pointing out polyps and verticils or whorls. So the polyps, where they attach to the stem, basically come out in a ring. And that's something that's very characteristic of
yeah,
various
sure.
of the Primnoidae.
Go
I
ahead and
think
zoom
this is
in.
the first one of these I've ever seen. That's great.
Wow. Yeah, and we just asked the pilot to readjust so we could get a better look. Although
We're going to do
Tina
the
sounds like she
fog lights.
could see the
Bring in more
scales
detail.
on the lower whorls, but we're going to try
Okay,
and get
video
a
and
better
pilot.
look
Fog lights are coming on
at the
now.
upper whorls as well.
We're going to light it up a little better for you, too, so you can see the polyps.
Fog lights are on.
Watch leads, Nav.
Go ahead, Nev.
Be advised the ROV has traveled 100 meters over the bottom.
Roger that. Thanks a lot.
I'm going to tilt up to the tip.
And for anybody keeping track, we've now gone 100 meters since we sat down on the seafloor.
Do you want me to try and take a couple stills while we're here, pilot?
Yeah, so I'm comfortable with that being a Primnoid. I could
Just while
see on
we're
one of those
close and have it lit up.
close-ups
Yeah,
in
take
the
just a few
good
photos.
focus that
Okay.
definitely has scales. Basically, earlier, Cheryl, you had noted that octocorals have sclerites, these little calcareous elements that are embedded in their tissue. And in all the members of the family Primnoidae, those sclerites
Go
are
ahead.
modified
Go ahead, watch
in a
2.
flattened scale-like form, but they take on a huge variety. And I've often
Sure.
described the polyps as being mini knights in armor.
Yep,
With these
that's fine.
scales overlapping in various
How
ways.
much-
Some of them have spines that
How-
are
how far have we
protective
moved?
and so on. And so you can see when you're looking at the polyps,
Stand
they
by.
kind of have this regular and rough appearance that is the scales. And
Approximately
later,
20
maybe
meters.
when we see a bamboo coral, you can compare that
So
the
another
bamboo
10
coral,
meters
those
to go.
sclerites are more like needles, and they come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. And it's similar to the sponges
I'm
where
only
we were
looking at
talking
you
about
at 60
the
degrees, so
spicules.
Go ahead, watch 2.
Earlier we had heard that if you did the bleach test on the sponge that we
Should I
collected,
request
you
an
could
easy
see
stop?
what kind of spicules it is, and then
All right,
identify
I'll get
the
set up.
family. You do the exact
Bridge
same
now.
thing for the
Bridge here.
octocorals.
Would you please come to an easy stop?
Zoom out video.
All right, coming to an easy
and
stop.
ultimately,
Thank you,
that's
Bridge.
what's used to identify these things. And that's why it's so hard sometimes for us to identify it in the video.
So there have been several people suggesting that we make a collection of this. Would you agree that that's a good idea, Scott, so that we can use the procedures that you just talked about?
I think that would be a really good idea. This does not look like Candidella gigantea to me, which is the one I'm familiar with that is unbranched. As I said, that's typically deeper and it has larger polyps. So I'd be happy to see a collection, and what I would suggest is maybe, clip the top half or third so we leave the colony in place.
Right. Okay. Just so
ROV now,
clip
Bridge,
just
I'll
the
stop.
top portion of
Thank
the
you,
of the of the sample.
Go ahead, watch 2. Yeah, we can do that. Yep.
Okay. So we're setting
Looking
up
down at you
to
at
take a
7-0.
sample of this. We'll leave
Andy just brought the ship to an easy stop, so
Copy that.
the bottom
okay.
2/3
You are ramped up.
so that the
All right.
colony
And,
can continue
we're
to
gonna do
grow, and
starboard
we'll
box.
take the top
Starboard
third
box.
so that we can
Copy
examine
that.
it more closely and get a species identification.
Watch lead, this is co-pilot.
can you grab the predator? Thank you.
Watch lead, this is co-pilot.
Yeah, she answered you.
So did she.
Force feedback on.
Watch lead, this is co-pilot. Just curious if you have any interest in taking any water samples as we get this biology sample.
And would you mind putting
Copy that.
the Sirius camera on that monitor and then help me keep an eye on that?
Copy.
So do you want to tilt down Lars on your camera, and
Coming
Andy's
down.
going to help you keep an eye on that. I'm going to put Mini Zeus on that screen.
Okay, looking down at 90 degrees.
Yep. And you could come up to 20.
Yep, moving on up now.
Okay. And so while I'm doing this, it's going to be important that you keep an eye on Sirius position and keep an eye on your sonar, because that'll tell you,
If we're moving.
yeah, and if it'll tell you the depth or tell you something about the bathymetry ahead of you.
Copy that. I also believe I just overheard them saying something about half instead of
Yeah.
a third.
Yep.
And I'll also take control of your mini Zeus if you'd like.
Sure.
Once again, once you see the manipulator next to the coral, you realize it's not as big as I was thinking it was.
So is that a good
Yes,
cut
I think-
at the,
Yeah, that
at the bottom of the jaws?
That looks good at the bottom of the jaws. Thank you, pilot.
Things always seem bigger in the camera view, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then, which is exactly why we put the lasers on.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't put the lasers on this particular coral because they're next to each other in a horizontal fashion. I don't think we'd be able to get any kind of measurement. Since
Clear
the
to move the drawer
coral
out.
is just vertical.
Go ahead.
Sending the drawer. Going to the starboard bio boxes. is fully extended.
Okay.
I will follow you around with Mini Zeus.
Sounds good.
Coming over. Okay. Ready to retract the drawer?
So
See
we've
where it
got
is?
our
Yeah, it's right there in the
second
middle.
sample of the
Okay.
day.
See the,
Sounds
A
good.
primnoid of some
you want
type,
me to follow it? It's
Yeah,
right
there it is. Okay, just checking.
Okay.
and it's had
Bringing
everybody
the
stumped
drawer
as to what even genus it might be. So this is a very good collection so that we can take a closer look at all of these
Okay.
features
Drawer is
once
fully
we can
retracted.
Thank you.
get it on board.
Straighten out my joints.
So,
The sclerites are going to be a very important character to look at, and of course you can't do that very well without actually having a sample in hand and using some bleach, as Scott said, to get rid of the tissue and just look at those skeletal characters.
You tilt up on the Mini Zeus, and we'll just make sure all the joints are straightened out. Okay, looks good.
it's good pilot.
All right.
Copa, that was in the starboard inner, correct?
That was starboard inner, yes.
Watch lead, Snav.
Okay.
Just wanted to confirm the sample
Gonna go ahead and
ID
give you
on that
back
one. That was
Mini
spec
Zeus
02
and
bio.
replacing the monitor with HD1 of the
Thank you.
sled.
Sure. So just for your reference,
Ramping down.
on that sample, I didn't think hard enough about how I would stow it, because how I clipped it is great for if you're putting something in the port box,
I know.
but not if you're doing the starboard box, which I just haven't done in a while. So you got to think about the angle that you clipped it, so that you can move the arm in and get the jaw in
So
the
we
box
have a
and let it
snaff
go.
of Brinken eel, another
So
cutthroat
I
eel
should
that
have,
just swam by, and the
considered
small
that a little
white
further
corals that
before I
you
cut it.
see
Yeah, it was
are
nice where it was
actually
pretty straight and stiff that you could
stylosterid
just
lace corals. Those are
kinda dip it in
hydrocorals.
Right. So if you cut it at more of an angle, you can
So
kind of
they're
like
not
just get the
scleractinian, but
the
they are
jaws more vertically in
hydrocorals
the
that
box
also
rather
make
than what I
a
did,
hard
which is
skeleton.
had them horizontal over the top of it.
The
Oh, well, I
So
misspoke
that
about
was,
that earlier. I didn't realize.
something
And
to
do they
learn
have
from.
really tiny polyps?
Yeah, they're like fire coral, like
Oh, so they just.
Millipora.
Oh, okay.
I
That
have
makes
you here
sense.
at
Yeah.
90 degrees.
Coming up.
Yes, I believe I misidentified them earlier.
We can
Because
go
you
and
weren't
turn
here
the
to
fog lights
correct
off,
me.
Right.
and the still cam is off.
I don't
right?
know the species,
Fog
but
lights are coming off. They still can was
they're
on for
actually
about
quite
10 seconds.
diverse.
Perfect.
A little bit
Perfect.
further
I believe
south,
It takes one at the
in
beginning
the Straits
and
of
then like one
Florida.
every 3 seconds.
Every 10 seconds
As
right
you can
now.
see, we're
Oh,
climbing up
okay.
a fairly
Yeah.
steep wall
so we
here.
got
Center right, Sea Star.
2 pictures out of that though.
We can get
Or
lasers
the
on too.
edge of a
Lasers coming
mound.
up.
Okay, let's do a. Hold on, actually.
And the sediment
Let's
is
go and do
mostly
a quick
covered
snap
with
zoom on the star.
fragments of dead coral rubble. Ooh, and we
Hold
have
that.
another sea star. I don't know if this is a goniaster like we saw previous. Goniasterid.
All right, let's come out.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go full wide.
Oh, great. Oh, but here's a yellow. Yeah. They're going after it in a different color. I guess these are pretty common today.
All right, we're just going to keep cruising up the slope until we get a request to zoom on something. We'll keep the ship moving to make sure we get to the top.
If pilot confirms, I think another 30 meters at the same heading. Is it 300?
Yep, that was our heading.
Okay, sounds good.
I feel comfortable with that.
Yep, by the time we get moving, I'll be up ahead of you.
Yep.
Sonars look clear.
I'm going to follow you up a little bit.
Copy.
Bridge, Nav.
This is Bridge, over.
I'd like to request a ship move.
Okay.
Range 30 meters. Bearing 300 degrees.
0.
Speed decimal 2 knots.
Okay, 30 meters, bearing 300, speed decimal 2.
Good copy, Bridge.
A large sponge off to the left. Huh?
So as we're moving up slope here, it looks like we have higher stands of
ROV nav,
dead
bridge
coral
move
framework,
initiated.
and this again looks
Thank
like
you,
an
Bridge.
Alapsamia profunda to me.
Several large sponges over there. Do we want to do a drift test real quick? It's actually a good place for it. If you bring up the expert mode in fins.
Copy that.
Harrison.
Is the starboard lower light normally?
Joe,
bounce
maybe
like
you can
that, or
tell
is
us
that just the
Yeah,
current
in
or-
high
what you
currents it
saw
does, yeah.
in terms of the dominant coral rubble yesterday. We were at 3 different mounds,
Right, ready, Andy?
increasing
yes.
in mound
Okay,
size
let
as
off
we
first
went
there.
across them, and you saw different rubble. What was that?
The 2 deeper mounds that weren't as high off the seafloor
We're still climbing.
looked like they were an Alapsamia profunda. That was the dominant scleractinian coral that was making the coral rubble and
climbing.
framework. And then as we got to the highest mound, that changed to Lophelia
Still climbing.
pertusa. And those, when we got to the top of that high mound, it was amazing the relief
Still
of
climbing.
these big former live bushes of Lophelia that were mostly dead now, but capped with live coral.
Still climbing.
And when we got to that higher
Okay,
mound,
think
we
it's
also saw
headed
some
out.
Okay, what are we at?
Madrepora oculina, which was the
0.2
first
meters
time we
per
had seen
second
that
north
scleractinian
and
framework
0.15
building coral.
meters per second
I think we saw
east.
about
And what's
3
the norm?
colonies of that, and 2 of them
Speed norm,
were alive.
0.45.
So there was a change in species
Okay.
when we got to the larger mound.
To a halt. So we watch lead. We just did a little drift test and discovered we have about a half a knot of current, and it appears to be going kind of from the southwest to the northeast.
See some
Uh-huh.
Synaphobranchid eels here, cutthroat eels.
So for that, do you just turn off all the thrusters except for the verts?
Several
I
sponges.
just go off thrust. I don't turn them off, but I just don't put any commands in. And then normally you wouldn't even use verts, but I was kind of
So we're about
touching the bottom, so I give it
750
bumps
meters
up once in a
below
while.
the surface here, and we're still very much feeling the effects of the Gulf Stream.
I thought we had to calculate it. I didn't realize
We're at a
I had
half
that
knot
more.
current.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're ready for that move, or do they already?
We issued a move 3 minutes ago.
Okay.
We're about 2/3 of the way.
Looks like it's. Oh, okay. So my plan here, Lars, what I'm thinking is that
if you were with
it's
us
much
a little
easier to
while
pilot
ago,
into the
we
current.
were
So that's why I'm
taking
facing
a
that
good
direction.
look at an eel
And
that
I
was
wanted
a
to
little
kind of
bit
drift
more
over to the right
elongate,
side of your
especially
screen,
a
so
very
if I see something
angular
up ahead, I can actually get to it
front
rather
to
than
it,
being on
and
that
a
side,
black
on the
edge
left side of your
caudal
screen,
fin.
and then
And
seeing
Ken
something ahead,
Suak
and I
has
don't have
identified that as a
Copy that.
Nedatomidae. And the pectoral fin might suggest the genus Hoplonius. Hoplonus. Sorry, I murdered that one again. And there are about 5 described species occurring along the southeast coast and the Gulf of Mexico. But Ken doesn't think that any of them have been reported below 500 meters. So this could be a substantial increase in the known depth range of this species, or it could be an undescribed species. And then Nizumia, the
go ahead and call another one in
rat tail that we saw,
Okay.
was a juvenile, and it was plagued by parasites. I didn't notice those.
Yeah, it looks like it should get us past waypoint 2, and then it may change a little bit to get to...
Okay, so as I move ahead, you can come down a little bit in altitude.
I mean, 300 should put us right onto waypoint 4, right?
Seeing a broad plain of sediment that is dominated really by this coral rubble.
So you come down a few meters,
in between
I'll have a
the
little more tether, Lars.
finer grains, which are still quite coarse for most sediment. Because of the high current, we don't get the very finest clay-sized particles depositing in this kind of area. And instead we get the dominating sediment is likely to be calcium carbonate shell remains of all the organisms that live in the water column above.
Thanks.
Okay, 30 meters, bearing 300, speed decimal 2.
Good copy, Bridge.
Oh, we might have just passed a skate. We're still
to the left?
Yeah. Oh, are we able to maneuver now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, keep going a little to the left.
Keep your eyes peeled for a small skate.
It's moving.
You see it?
Yeah, it's in the center of the screen at about 10 o'clock from the lasers.
Oh, okay, I think I see it.
It's quite tiny.
Good eyes, Cheryl.
ROV nav bridge, move initiated.
You do a partial zoom video. Let's hold that. I'll move in a little closer.
Pilots, that move is underway.
Copy, thanks.
Copy that now. Looking down at you at 70.
Copy. He's small.
Yeah, he's pretty tiny.
Very tiny.
Again, those lasers are 10 centimeters across, so I guess wing to wing this guy is about 10 centimeters. A little bit longer when you include his tail in the other direction.
This looks like a Pluto skate that we found. I don't know what the scientific name is. And there may be many that look similar to this, but it looks very much like what we saw at the Charleston Bump area, which is to the north of this region, also very strongly influenced by the Gulf Stream.
Coming off.
Okay, go in a little tighter.
These are cartilaginous fish.
Oh.
Looking down at 80.
Startled
Just a youngster.
Glad we got a look at him.
Yep.
Yeah, we can see how he swims.
That's interesting.
Those are his claspers, aren't they? Or so these are relatives of sharks, elasmobranchs. In the Batoidea.
Looks like he's using his back fins to prop himself up.